One of the key tenets of this program is the idea that we all deserve to live as our full, authentic selves. Usually I'm speaking in the context of Jewish identity, but we are all multifaceted humans, and I guarantee you that many of us have other aspects of our identity that we continue to either conceal or with which we are not yet fully in line. Today, I want to share with you my journey of self-discovery that brought me into alignment as my full, authentic self for the first time in a long time. Not because I have a burning desire to talk about myself, but because, as always, I hope my words maybe knock a little something loose in your brain that just needed a little nudge. Let's start somewhere Jewish, that being the theme of this show and all. From age 2 to age 13, I attended Jewish day school, and the experience was a mixed bag, to say the least. When I had challenging and empathetic teachers, I thrived. When I had rigid and overwhelmed teachers, I got into trouble. My parents and teachers chalked this up to a combined lack of intellectual stimulation and an inability to control myself, which was very bad indeed. By the time I graduated 8th grade, I had received 30 detentions, 2 suspensions, been compared to a Nazi by the Judaic Studies director, and received 1 in-school suspension, a punishment they made up just for me on my very last day of school before graduation. Good times. Fast forward to 2023. 15 years into my never-ending struggle to achieve success in the entertainment industry, jumping from writing to acting to music to producing, always trying to have as many balls in the air as possible. And yet, I was in a constant state of feeling disappointed in myself. Why wasn't I more prolific? Why wasn't I breaking through? How would I ever reach my full potential? If I tried something else, wouldn't that make me a loser, a quitter, a coward? Around this time, my son, who had been having clear impulse control issues from age 2, was diagnosed with ADHD. They don't actually distinguish it from ADD anymore. It's all ADHD now. His diagnosis brought great relief for me and my wife. Weekly shout out to Courtney. We began to learn all the different ways ADHD could manifest. How so many things that we might chalk up to rudeness or forgetfulness or defiance were in fact just symptoms of a condition over which my little boy has little control. I recognized a lot of myself when I saw my kid, and that realization, on top of the strong urge I had to find more achievement in my own life, led me to get tested for ADHD. And wouldn't you know it, I've got it too. And while I appreciated having that new knowledge, I didn't really put any effort into trying to understand what it meant, so it didn't do me much good. In fact, as the year went on, my mental state continued to deteriorate. I'd always felt I lacked purpose. What am I supposed to do with my life? Who am I supposed to be? And with those existential questions turning over and over in my mind, I always felt like my life was lacking, despite it being so full with so many blessings. Things came to a head during the summer. I was in a constant state of frustration. My meter always at 99, so the tiniest thing would push me right to 100. Nothing felt worthwhile. I didn't seek out any of the things that bring me joy. I wasn't getting work. Everything was just going through the motions, hollow. After I lost my temper one too many times over nothing, my wife and I both demanded that something had to change in me immediately. So I made 3 major changes, and almost overnight, I became a totally different person in the best way. The first change was medication. Sweet, sweet sertraline, baby. Overnight, my impulsivity was curbed, and the temperature on my temper turned all the way down. I can't overstate how amazing it feels to not have impulsivity getting in the way of the person I truly am. The second change was that, at my wife's urging, I got serious about trying to understand my ADHD. Most of us who don't know any better think of it as a condition that's exclusive to kids who can't sit still in school. Not super meaningful to an adult who has done well professionally, as a family, all that. But boy, oh boy, as I dug into a book called The ADHD Effect on Marriage by Melissa Orlov, we discovered that so many facets of my core personality, including many of the behaviors I had been told were bad or made me bad, were actually manifestations of my ADHD. Like when I forget to lower the garage door, it's not because I don't care about my family's safety. It's because between the time I open the garage door and think, I got to remember to close that, and then get into my car 4 seconds later, I've already thought about 20 other things. So if I don't happen to notice the open door in my rear view, it never re-enters my mind to close it. The trouble I have getting started on non-preferred projects. It's not because I'm lazy or dumb. It's because people with ADHD have a hard time getting started on non-preferred projects. My impulsivity is not because I'm a bad person. It's because my brain moves really fast and doesn't produce enough dopamine and is constantly searching for stimuli. I also learned that some of my struggles could actually be superpowers. When Courtney calls my name and I don't answer, it's not because I'm ignoring her, but because I have hyperfocus and can get into such a deep flow state that the world disappears. Understanding moments like these has been a huge win for both of us personally and for our marriage. Another fascinating one, ADHD brains don't employ hierarchical thinking the way non-ADHD brains do. So while a regular brain sorts various tasks or details by order of importance, my brain treats everything as equally important, which is why everything I've ever produced, from scripts to vocal arrangements to lyrics to this podcast, is so meticulously picked over and my standards set so high. But what really blew my mind was reading the expansive list of ADHD symptoms courtesy of Dr. Edward Hallowell, things I had no idea were ADHD related. A sense of underachievement and insecurity, regardless of how much one has actually accomplished. Many projects going on simultaneously. Impulsivity. Inaccurate self-observation. It was me to a T. The transformation was instantaneous. By realizing how much of my lifelong internal struggle was due to my own brain's erroneous view of myself, I was able to let go of that struggle and embrace myself in a way I never would have even considered. The last change was committing to the creation of this podcast. My ADHD told me I wasn't successful enough, that my worth was less because I hadn't reached a high enough height, and that until I did, I would never realize my full potential and my life would be wasted. But once I understood where these false ideas actually came from, I stopped believing them. I realized that so much of the turmoil I'd been experiencing was due to the internal conflict between my mind, which told me I had to keep my foot on the gas of entertainment at all costs, and my heart, which told me there was a pursuit far more significant and potentially impactful waiting for me if I would only take it up. Rather than spend an afternoon prepping an audition for a 4-line role on The Rookie, I could spend that time trying to empower and educate folks about the modern experience of being Jewish. Understanding my ADHD allowed me to release myself from the shackles of unfair expectations and step gratefully into the role I was meant to play all along. You know, I actually always hated when people shared stories like mine, because it's not like anyone is trying to be spiritually misaligned. I had to organically stumble into my situation after lots of struggling. So just because I can say, hey, do this and you'll feel great, doesn't necessarily help you in any way. Your circumstances are your own. But I do feel there is a universal truth at play here. Your gut, your instinct, your inner voice, your soul, your intuition, your divine spark, whatever you want to call it, is always right. We do our damnedest to ignore it, to allow our brains or our emotions or the brains and emotions of other people to drown out the wisdom that's already there. Feeling out of alignment, bereft of the ease that comes from inhabiting your full authentic self, is your insight telling you that there are warring factions at play within you. Recognize this, examine it, tease out the intuition from the impulse, the natural from the noise, the push towards salvation from the pull of fear and doubt. As the ghost of Babe Ruth says in The Sandlot, follow your heart, kid, and you'll never go wrong. So follow yours. And when you do, I'll be here, waiting to wish you an enthusiastic mazel tov. Well, waiting at least until my brain needs more dopamine and I got to go do something else. But you get it, because you at last are you, and I'm just being me.